Coming up next on the Filthy Rich Cleaners podcast.
There's always a lot of nuances in the business that I had to learn that even though he didn't know, he's like, you got to charge for all this stuff. He knew basics, you know?
From your first dollar to your first million, welcome to the Filthy Rich Cleaners podcast, presented by ZenMaid. Join your host, Stephanie Pipkin, founder of Serene Clean, as she shares proven tips, tricks, and hard-earned lessons. Whether you're just starting out or ready to scale, get ready to discover how to build your own cleaning empire. Let's roll up our sleeves and dive in.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Filthy Rich Cleaners podcast. I am your host, Stephanie from Serene Clean, and today's lovely guest, who is coming from Texas for us, is Mila Arzu, and she is the owner and founder of HostKeeper, and she has so much amazing advice for you guys, specifically when it comes to short-term vacation rentals, because is it exclusively does it? Do you guys do other types of cleaning? It's your bread and butter, right?
That's right. Only Airbnb cleaning. Sometimes somebody might call me and say we have like a construction cleaning. Okay, we might do that.
That's amazing. I'm so fascinated. Anytime I talk to an owner who does exclusively vacation rental turnovers, like I have just a million questions. So before we get into that, you have quite the story of how you got into the business, because cleaning was not your background. You actually were, tell me about your traveling experience, because you were traveling over in Asia, right?
I grew up in traditional society just like everybody else. Mm-hmm. You know, you think the way that your parents want you to think. My parents are immigrants. And so I did the thing where you finish high school, you go to college, you get married, and you're supposed to do everything after that. So what happened was I got fired from my job. It was kind of like a pivotal moment of my life, you know? I got fired from my corporate job, my first job out of college. And it was like, you know, you feel the shame and all that stuff that supposedly supposed to come with it, and try to find another job. And I was like, you know what? This is my time. I was still young. I mean, 24. I got married, but didn't have any kids. So I was like, I can still get out of this. So I actually had to get out of it because my ex did not like the fact that I was trying to support myself, I guess. When he even told me, don't ask me for money. Your money's your money. He was a 50-50 dude. I don't like
it. Sounds like a catch. Well, divorcee buddies, because second time's a charm, right?
Well, you're brainwashed to think one thing and how things are going to get better. No, like live your life. So what happened was I got fired, then I got the divorce, and then I was like, you know what? I'm not being supported by anybody. I'm leaving. So that's when I was talking to a friend in Korea. She's from Houston, but her husband was working in Korea because he was in oil and gas, and Houston is like real big oil and gas. Most everybody's in oil and gas over here. So she's like, I just had a baby. Come visit me. I need friends too. I need somebody to hang out with. And I was having a hard time. So she's like, come over here. So I stayed with her for 1 month, but then I went to the capital, Seoul, for another month. And, in that first month, I got a job in 4 days working at a bar. I never worked at a bar in my life, but the lady was being really nice and I had a great time. She let me drink. I mean, it was the best time. Like, why not? She's like, if the boys want to buy you drinks, you can take it. You don't have to drink it, but you can take it if you want. Oh, amazing. She's like, you can throw it away too. Just take the money. I was like, okay, girl, no problem.
That's fantastic.
After that, like in that time, you kind of break away from how you like the norms, mm-hmm. right? You live in a different culture, society altogether. They do things differently. You see things differently. And the things that you believed before is not really what is actually true. But mm-hmm. you learn that in the time of, I guess, isolation, basically, because Korean people, they're culturally xenophobic, which is not a bad thing. But they stick with themselves, because their culture is very deep. And I understand that. But at the same time, I think it's good to observe. It's good to see how other people like interact and support each other. Anyways, that's what the point is.
No, it's fascinating. And especially like I have heard that before, that no matter what, like even if you live there your whole life, like polite, but still very much like you're an outsider kind of thing.
Right. That's interesting. Yeah, it's interesting to see and like learn. So I was there, and so I still kind of had I was kind of like isolated, right? Because I didn't
Mhm.
have that many Korean friends. My Korean friends were the teachers that because I ended up teaching actually. By the way, I was working at the bar the whole time. I
Mhm.
actually stayed there for a month, and then went to Seoul for a month just to explore. I went to like a bunch of meetups and just met people. I did capoeira. I was just like living there in like a prison cell. Like they have these little hostels that you can like stand up and touch each side.
Oh
But it
my
was
gosh.
okay. I was not there most of the
Yep.
time. I wasn't sleeping. I was out
Mhm.
doing stuff and hanging out. So I ended up coming back home for the fingerprints and all that stuff you got to do before you become a teacher.
Mhm.
So what happened actually was I met a boyfriend the first month. He's
Mhm.
actually he was actually from Russia. So he was like, "You should stay here. You
Mhm.
should." He's like, "You speak great English. You have a degree. You can be a teacher here." And I was like, "Are you sure they're going to hire me?" He's like, "Anybody will hire you." And it was true because I would at the time there was Skype. So I would like
Mhm.
Skype my friends at the cafes during the day, and people who own schools would be like, "Hey, your English is good. Do you want to teach at my school?" And I was like,
Wow.
"Okay, I can get a job and stay here." So I did. I came back home for 1 month, and then I went back for a year and a half, and I ended up, yeah, teaching English to Korean kids. I was like the fun English teacher. I only worked 20 hours a week. They were paying me $2,000 a month, and they paid my rent in my hotel, my apartment.
Oh
And I
my
was like,
gosh.
yeah, it
That's
was a
amazing.
fantastic deal.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Whew.
so it gave me time to like think because actually
Mhm.
before I left, I started a wedding dress business and it didn't take off. And I was like, okay, that's why I was like, okay, I definitely need a break, just time to figure out what I'm going to do when I go back home eventually, right?
Mhm.
So at the time, I was listening to a lot of podcasts and reading a lot of books. So while I was in Korea, because I only worked 20 hours a week, I spent the other time, they have like these internet cafes called Jimjibang. And it's really fancy, by the way. They have big screens. There's a smoking area if you smoke. There's ramen if you want to order ramen and be on the computer. It was really nice. So I would spend, and it was cheap too. So I spent like hours learning how to build a website and learn SEO, like learn SEO so that you have an advantage when
And what
you
year was this? Just so I like, what's the timeline here? Where are we at?
2013,
Okay.
2013. I was spending a
Mhm.
lot of time. And I was listening to a lot of Pat Flynn's podcast.
Mhm. Mhm.
But he
OG. Yeah, that's a very OG. Yeah.
yes. No, he was dropping bombs in the beginning.
Huh?
So I was learning everything. It was a blessing. So I traveled, and while I was there in Korea, of course, I went to the nearby countries. I went to
Mhm.
Japan, I went to Taiwan, I went to Indonesia. And then I ended up when I finished my time there in Korea, um, and before I came, I didn't want to come straight home because
Mhm.
that's boring. Why would I do that? I was still trying to run away. so, so I was like, okay, actually in Korea, when you leave, when you teach there and you leave after 1 year, I think they give you $5,000. I don't know every year they give you for every year you do, but they send you off with $5,000. I'm like, I'm gonna travel with that money before I
Yes.
go home.
Mhm.
And so, and yeah, it's not a lot of money, but for 6 months, I didn't even use it all because I know how to save money. But
Mhm.
and Asia is really cheap, by the way. You can stay places like $10 a night, and it's very decent and
Mhm.
nice. So I did all of that. I did 6 months of traveling alone, just trying to figure out what's going on here on Earth.
Mhm.
And so my brother had called me and he said, "I'm having a kid. I'd like for you to be around." And I'm like, "Okay, well, I guess I'll go." And so that's how I ended up coming back after a year and a half.
Mhm.
And it was a bit of a struggle because his girlfriend and she didn't like me. So I
Mhm.
couldn't stay with him very long and I didn't have a place to stay. So I bounced around. I stayed at a friend's house on his sofa for like 2 months.
Mhm.
And even around that time, I stayed in Austin. So that's how I came up with the HostKeeper idea, the idea of vacation rental cleaning.
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
what happened was I was in Austin because I came back with a travel app idea. I was like, gonna be this travel app warrior, like gonna be, Anyways, it did not happen. It's still a great idea, but whatever. So I'm trying to find a partner for this travel app
Mhm.
in Austin, Texas, because I'm from Houston, so Austin is close enough
Yep.
to home. And I didn't find a partner, but what happened was I stayed at one Airbnb where she rented out each room. So it was like a 4-bedroom, and she was like, even when when somebody wants to rent my main bedroom, I just go stay at my boyfriend's house. I prepare and I thought she had it really nice because she had the living room and the kitchen like a shared space. She had like little notes like the dishwasher's clean, it's dirty. When you go into your room, it had the key waiting for you, so it's like your own key to your room, and the bed was made like hotel style, tucked in and folded out, and then it had a mint on there with a piece of paper with like the Wi-Fi information, coffee shop type stuff. So I was like, I like this. Like when I get my life together and have a house, I want to have a house so that I can do this and then travel. But then I was like, who's going to take care of my house? So on this made up idea, I started HostKeeper.
Yes. Well, that's amazing how like things like little things like that can trigger like, I know the solution here. Like I can be the one. It's just most people don't actually like somebody needs to do something about this, but most people are not the somebody, but you were the somebody.
Yes. That's a great mention that you said that, because I just talked to somebody last week and he said, everybody wants to sit at the table, but nobody wants to build a table.
I love that. It's just like, when you do reach any type of measure of success and the whole must be nice, thought process, like, yeah, you're right. It is nice. It is nice. I built this. It's very nice.
Exactly. That's true. Exactly. My brother used to must be nice all the time. And I was like, listen, I built this life. Okay. Yeah. I came from the same household as you. So don't come must be nice me. You know what I'm saying?
Well, and they could do it. And that's the thing, the way I see it, it's like, if they're saying that, that means that they're going to, it's a very victim mindset of like, like you can't have that same thing. It's like, we can't, like, or at least we can put ourselves out there,
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I put myself way out there. So I'm like, must be nice me. I earned all of this.
Yeah. So did you okay, tell me first cleaning. Tell me about that first 3-month period of I'm going to do this. How did you go about it?
Oh my gosh. That was probably the hardest part, starting and believing in yourself and thinking that you're going to get a customer and eventually be like a business owner. Super scary, because I've always kind of been like, think big, think to the top. So I'm like, worldwide, blah, blah, blah. But in real life, you're packing up your trunk with all your mop and stuff and your vacuum and doing this stuff. So I actually I knew that I wanted to do vacation rental cleaning, but at the same time, I did some research, but just because I'm more of an intuitive person, like hearing about Airbnb is more than like researching how many Airbnbs I'm going to have an opportunity to clean. So my first cleans were off Thumbtack.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Meaning owners were posting, like owners were posting they were looking for cleaners.
Right. Exactly. Owners were posting looking for cleaners. I spent a lot of time looking if they wrote a note that it was STR, short-term rental or something like that. And that was a long time looking, but I took some action. I knew that I had to move with the business. So even though that's not the cleaning I wanted to do, I knew that it's kind of the similar moves you got to make, right? You still got to learn what kind of chemicals you're going to bring, what kind of materials you're going to bring, supplies, got to walk through the front door, find the apartment. Like all that stuff is a little bit of skill, just getting out of your comfort zone and going into somebody's house and cleaning it. Most of the time they were there. That's weird. I mean, it's normal, but if you're not used to, that's a weird feeling and thing to do. So it was actually good because it's a learning experience. So when I started cleaning, so how I got my first Airbnb cleans is I buckled down. I'm like, I'm building this website because I would think, I should start the business. Oh, I don't have time. Oh, I should start. I don't have nothing else to do. I don't have a job, and I'm my apartment. I paid the apartment that I got because I didn't have a job. I paid it half up front because I ended up living in the ghetto because it was like $3,000 for half the month. And then I convinced them that I was good for it, that I'll pay the other half or something. So I literally had 6 months to figure out what I'm going to do to pay the other 6 months. Like that's how dire it was, no money. So I knew I had to get things rolling anyway because time is running out. So I did those motions. So the first time is I built the website. in like a weekend because I'm like, I already know how to do this. I did it playing around back in 2013. Now we're talking like 2016. I was playing around with that stuff anyways. I knew how to do it. So I'm like, let me build a website. Let me perfect the SEO because I know personally I don't feel comfortable in sales at the time. Now I'm much better at it because real rich people know how to sell, So I want to be real rich people. So I'm going to learn how to sell. That's how I took it. But at the time, I'm like, I don't know how to sell. So where are my people going to be at? They're going to be online and I'm going to have to sell myself as nicely as I can using the website, trying to look professional, that I'm a bigger than I am. So that people, so I did that. It worked. And I got my first 2 customers in the first week. I like posted it on like Sunday or Monday. And by like Friday or Saturday, I had meetings with my first 2 clients and they took me very well. It was nice. They were like, well, I'm going to check. And I try to make sure that I like cross all my T's and dotted my I's. I'm like, please come after I'm done cleaning so that if you want to critique it, you want something done, change, whatever, let me know. I'm open book. Like I'm willing to do it all over again. Like, let me know. And so I got a lot of good reviews from them. One of them gave me a great tip was I cleaned it and I used to close all the doors. And he said, well, this is a vacation rental. And most of the time people want to feel welcome and they don't want to walk to a space where all the doors are closed, especially it's not their house. So I was like, that's a great tip. So I made sure I cracked, the bathrooms and all the doors for the rooms were wide open. It's just like little things like that I was willing to keep learning because I knew that nobody had really established how to clean vacation rentals. Like you can find, how to clean residential or commercial almost anywhere, but that was like a new development. Yeah. So I was like, okay, I'm going to write a lot of notes because remember, I always thought big. I'm like, this is going to be a big thing. So I was always after every clean, I would write notes like, oh man, this took forever. Why did it take forever? Because there was pet hair. The pet hair took like about an hour. So now I'm charging. A lot of people tend to do Airbnbs and complain like, oh, there was that pet hair and they didn't pay me. The problem is you have to learn that you're the boss, not they're the boss. So I'm like, okay, well, an extra hour for that. So it came to a point where there was no question about pricing too, because a lot of times when anybody is buying something, they don't like to be surprised. So I noticed that if you're cleaning, especially a cleaner, and says, well, it's going to cost more, it triggers people. Yeah. Like, you
very much so. Yep. You're gonna make people mad because it's expectations, not, it feels like you're trying to pull the wool over or bamboozle them, even though that's not your intention. It's just, you're being unprofessional. And if you wait till like, oh, it's going to be like especially if you finish the clean, it's like, it's actually more than what we agreed upon. Even if there's a legitimate reason, it's like we need to have that intake process better. So when you first were getting into it, when it comes to pricing, I'm curious because this is what newbies do, is they kind of let the owner dictate, especially with short-term rentals, of like, well, this is my cleaning fee, so this is your budget. Right. How did you start with pricing? And you just mentioned, kind of like how it's evolved a little bit. How has it evolved to today, just overarchingly when it comes to pricing of these?
Well, of course, prices go up, When inflation went up, when was that? Last year, 2 years ago? Then your price has to go up too. I mean, this is the game. But at the time, what happened was I had, for about 6 months, I had like a good solid 5 clients. So this is where I'm still building also my business. And at the time, my pricing was like, I had, let's say, a 2-bedroom townhouse. I was only charging like $84 or something like that, because it was really cheap. Because what I did was, the way I priced it in my head was like each space was like $25, because each space would take about, this is just my thought, this is not how it is anymore. But I thought, okay, each space is probably going to take an hour, $25 an hour. That's not bad. You know what I'm saying? So I was like, except for the kitchen, that might have to be like a little bit more. So that's how I kind of priced it in my head. It's like, okay, living room, or if you have 2 living rooms. So the living room is 25, this one's 25, the bedroom is 25, the bathroom is 25. So that's how I kind of like came up with the numbers in my head. And then plus the whole space. And so I actually, when I came back, I told you the story, I came back from traveling. I entered, actually at the same time, which was also critical, I entered a pitch competition.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, they had a pitch competition, and it's like the business that wins, it gets like $10,000 or something like that.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. So I signed up for the competition for the travel app. And fast forward, my mentor said, if you would have signed up for HostKeeper, you probably would have won.
Yeah.
Well, I did it for the travel app, and I met this mentor during that time because since it was the city of Houston, so it's the government. So you had to use SBA. No.
Yep.
So score.org provided the mentors. It was SBA, but like score.org provided the mentors, and that's also set up like that. So he was one of the mentors that every Saturday, one of the mentors had to go up and do a presentation. And he did one on marketing, and he was like the best mentor. And I ended up interviewing him on my channel too, because I loved him so much. He helped me so much. So he had already retired. He's still retired. So he retired. And so he would take the time every Wednesday to meet with me for coffee. And I told him my prices. And he was like, oh, this price.
Like, no.
And so that's how I ended up having to raise my prices. And I was like, I'm afraid. I don't want my, the same song and dance. I don't want my clients to leave me. And he's like, first of all, you like just started, like, calm down, like you still you're open to change your prices and pricing changes. And so he made me, it's not that I came up with prices. Like every time I met him, he would come and look at my thinking process as to why I priced it that way. And then he would agree or not. And then that's how I kind of like came up with my pricing. Also, I would come back to him and I'm like, okay, what about this price? And he's like, well, you said you just don't do cleaning. And that's how we are able to have clients that can live in London, Australia, and they're not here because the whole idea is taking care of your home while you're not here, while I'm traveling. That's the whole, So he's like, you do a whole lot more than that. You'll report if the grass needs to be, mowed. You'll report if the pool is turning green. You do all this other stuff. So you need to raise the price. So then you factor all those things in. And if there's pet hair, or if they stay longer than 30 days, they're definitely not picking up a mop and a vacuum. Right. So then you got to factor. So it's a lot of nuances in the business that I had to learn, that even though he didn't know, he's like, you got to charge for all this stuff. He knew basics, So, that's
I got
the pricing.
Yeah, no, and that's the reason I wanted to ask and really highlight that it's like how we start with pricing is not how we end in pricing. We all have to start somewhere. And the biggest thing is that you're highlighting is that you were learning as you went and you actually made changes instead of just keeping complaining about like, oh, I'm not making enough with all this work. It's like, well, then tell the next person a higher price. and that's all you need to do. So you start getting these couple clients, you have about 5. What does it look like for you then when it comes to like getting other vacation rental clients? Were they all finding you on your website, or were you procuring them, or what is the main for you now? How do you get clients now? And did that evolve over time from before?
Yes, it has evolved over time, but not in the best way, if that makes any sense. So, because, at the time I was grinding, I was hustling. So at the time, how I got so we're saying I had like 5 good clients. So in this time was funny because I'm working a lot. I'm working all the time. I was single. And, now you want to make room for dating because now you're doing okay. Because I was not dating when I'm broke. Okay. I don't want anybody feeling sorry for me or trying to manipulate me or whatever the case may be while I'm struggling. Let me struggle in peace. So exactly. I just don't like, sometimes people feel like they have a hand over you, and I don't need that. I'm focusing on getting myself out of this hole and trying to be successful. So once I started feeling better about myself and like feeling I have the upper hand now, like I'm working, I'm busy. So then I started dating. And so I met my husband. He was my boyfriend at the time. And so how we met was Harvey happened, which was a flood that happened. Go figure, Houston. I got flooded in the flood, and we met online. We met on Tinder. And he's from Belarus originally. So he had only been in the United States for at the time, a year. But he had already got a job, and he was working for a cable company. And they put cable and internet in your house. You need cable and internet, goes to your house. So that's what he did. And that's why he came from Denver over here, because they brought a group of contractors and say, hey, you get paid more if you get contracted for 3 months over there and go back home. So that's how we met. And we dated fast. I mean, we got married in like 8 months. So very fast. Like my business started to roll. I'm starting to get clients. I'm in a relationship. And so what happened was I did a lot of things at the time. So I was also like adding some manifesting things. Like I hate that word because it sounds like magical and stuff. I just wish people would understand like it's, I guess, about intent, making it intent. So what I did on my website, one of the things that I did was put now in Dallas. Like now I'm in Houston. I don't have a lot going on in Houston. So I'm like now in Dallas because I'm like, I want to be in Dallas. But I'm like, what if somebody calls me for Dallas? Like, what are we going to do? I was like, I'll figure it out when it happens. For real. That's really what was going on. And so I actually got a call from Dallas, 13 units. So that's,
oh my God.
Yes. So that's how that started. And this is like while I'm still dating my husband. So I get the 13 units in Dallas. I go to Dallas. I start cleaning because it's 4-hour drive from here. Listen, but they had 13 and they were a company. So I'm like, if I can set up 2 good people in Dallas, I'm good to go. It happened. All I needed 2 weeks. All I needed 2 weeks.
How did you get those employees?
I found them on Craigslist. Oh, okay. Let me break it down more. Yeah. Let me break it down more.
Do people still use Craigslist?
I know, right? For real. Until this day, we're probably still, we use Indeed and Craigslist now.
Yeah.
But you know why? You said, are people still using Craigslist? Immigrating people are still using Craigslist. You see? Immigrating people are still using Craigslist. And mostly immigrating people, most of the time they have to speak English to do a job, right? They don't have to speak English to do this job. So I wrote my ads in Spanish. So
love it.
Yeah. So that's how that happened for real. Because there's a lot of Venezuelan people in Dallas and they don't speak English and they feel uncomfortable. They feel, people still want dignity and respect too. You know what I'm saying? So this job is perfect. I'm not over you. I don't care about anything other than the units being clean and the guest is not complaining and my client's not complaining. Bam.
How did you handle, we've had guests on before who have a very robust Spanish speaking company but the owners are always bilingual, and so for you, do you speak Spanish? How did you handle this?
I do, but hold on.
Okay. I'm sorry. I'm just like, my brain's going like, how did you handle this? Because you're so right. It's just like you have this entire workforce of wonderful people who could kick ass for you and very loyal, hardworking. But I know for a lot of people that language barrier feels like it's too hard to overcome.
Right. And that's all it is, because I have been outside of the company, not working in the company or operating it at all. I'm over here doing YouTube now or whatever I'm doing for like the last 3 years. And so we have a virtual assistant and we have my husband who operates everything every day. Okay. So between the two, they're still hiring people who speak Spanish and they don't speak Spanish. My husband speaks English and Russian. And my assistant speaks English and Tagalog. He's from Philippines, so nobody, but they communicate in Spanish. Yep. We still accommodate them. So the text is in Spanish. Google Translate is amazing. So till this day, they're still hiring people. We still hire people who speak Spanish without speaking Spanish, because you just welcomed a whole bunch of people. You just welcomed a whole group of people that were not there before, because now you just opened the language barrier. I mean, that's why a lot of Spanish people in even my area, I see them driving Uber. I see them driving Amazon because they don't feel comfortable speaking Spanish and finding a job that'll pay them well and all this stuff without speaking the language. So.
So you just posted on Craigslist in Spanish. You got a couple folks, and did they already know how to For me, the paranoia of quality would be there, because I know how it was trusting those first staff members. And did you hire them as independent contractors or W-2 employees?
No, independent contractors, because a lot of times people who speak Spanish, they're very concerned about documentations.
Sure. Yep.
And so score.org, I'm telling you, I love them. I will praise their name. So I went back to them because they have an office in most cities. So I went to their office and I'm like, listen, I don't know what's the legality of what's thing going on. And I think I might have some people, but I don't know. And he said, you know what? If you hire them as 1099, it's none of your business. You don't need to know. So we both like not need to know bases. They're happy being, they're happy being 1099. I'm happy being you being 1099. So that's how it works.
Okay. Okay. Insurance. How do we handle that?
I don't know.
But and honestly, like, especially starting out, like, you know, things are not always like the ideal situation. You just make it work, which I understand. So did you then leave them? Like, they were doing good, and then you left and came back because you weren't living there. So what did you like? How did that happen and coordinate? Basically,
what happens is, this is how I do things, because I also read the law and I understand what they mean when why you hire W-2, why you hire 1099, and who can do what, and blah, blah, blah. So, and you can't train them. So,
right, exactly. Can't even use the word. Yeah.
You can't even use the word train. So I don't. I use guidance.
Okay. Love it.
There's a loophole for everything. But anyway, so I use the word guidance. And no. Actually, if I use the word, I use guidance, or I'm just going to show you. And basically, this is what I would do. That's what I say. You know why? Because they don't know what to do at all. So they want guidance because they want this job. They want to not have to talk to people or go to clean a house with people in it. They want to be able to go pick up their kids without having to ask permission. They want to be able to do all the stuff they can do with this job.
Did you leave that city then? Like, you got
what I would do is, when I hire somebody, I don't know why I find it easy in my head, only because of the way that I learn. They might want to call it ADHD. I'm not trying to claim a mental disorder. That's what I say. I'm not claiming all of that. But the way that I learn is like the way that I teach. So I didn't have any pamphlets or nothing like that. What I do is like, and I still do this till this day, and my husband does the same thing. Basically, it's like, you know, we understand that you might have never cleaned, or clean residential, or clean commercial. And we know that all of that is different. It's not the same. So this is how I would do it. So I start, in the kitchen, let's say we go straight to the kitchen. I explain, I guess, the passage or the journey of the guest. So basically, this is a place where people stay for a couple, like a hotel. I have to explain it like that so that you also understand you've got to check all the spoons. Even when, you know, they were all there, you got to check them to make sure that they're all clean. You got to check all the knives. You got to check in the oven. So things like that. So basically, I do a walkthrough. I mean, just like anybody who's doing commercial cleaning gets a walkthrough, this is what we would like for you to do. So we just do a walkthrough and say, this is what you do in the kitchen. This is what you do in the bedroom. The sheets have to be washed. The bed has to be made. If you don't know how to make a bed, I'm happy to show you. This is how I do the bed. This is how I fold it. This is how I set up the pillows. This is how I fold the towels. Very simply, it's nothing. If you want to put swans, put swans. Show your creativity, because I also want people to express themselves. I know some places are like, do things the same everywhere, but hello, we're 1099, so we can be creative. So that kind of thing. So basically, we just do a walkthrough with them, and it's just all talking, and they get it. Oh, so it's not just that, because what happens is, let's say it's your first day, and usually I don't hire people. Their first interview is a clean. This is I do everything different to make my life easy. So their first interview is a clean, and it's paid. Okay?
Yes, of course, the working interview, basically, you know, it is, like ethically, and I think pay people for working interviews. I think that's bullshit to not do that.
Right, exactly. No, you get paid. So it's basically for me to see if you have even potential to do the job. I don't play around. I'm not giving chances. Some people are like, oh, let's see how it goes in 2 weeks. You get it or you don't in this business. And this is it. So you do the interview. And so what happens is, pretty much 30 minutes in, it depends how long the clean is supposed to be. About 30 minutes in, or an hour in, depending how long the clean is going to be. So if it's like a 1-bedroom apartment, I'll be there 30 minutes. If it's a 3-bedroom, I'll be there in probably like 2 hours. So I go and I see how they're doing. How do you feel about what's going on? Well, I did this. I don't know how you feel about this and how I did this. I was like, well, I would do this. So it's like a nice conversation. So I go in the middle, and then I do that for like a couple of days.
Okay.
For like 3 days, so that, because that's how I learn. If you're with me and you just, say, oh, like, I don't know, whenever you see a living room and you see that the table was here and then now it's over there, make sure you put it over here. That kind of thing. Just things that I see and observing and talking about. And so after 3 days, they get it. There's not, and then that's not really just it, because I got to make sure that they're only working for me. That's what I like to do, because I don't want, and it's not like a rule or anything. They don't have to just, when it comes to cleaning, when it comes to cleaning, that, because when you're doing residential or you're doing commercial, I feel like they get confused. Because a residential cleaner will forget to clean out the refrigerator, or a commercial cleaner. So, and then I see that in them. It's like, okay, well, I've cleaned residential for 13 years. I can see it because you didn't clean the refrigerator, You didn't think to check, or the drawers. You didn't think to check because you don't do that in other people's houses. But you have to check the drawers to make sure nobody leaves guns and drugs, because that's what happens. And you don't want the next guest to find that kind of stuff. So it's like stories like that about when we passed by the drawer. I'm like, oh, there was one time that, yeah. So then they remember, oh man, I got to check it. Or, oh man, like, things are found under the bed to get, so it's just those kind of simple things. It's complicated, but it's also simple. I hate when people say that, but it's true.
No, it's you make such a valid point about that. It is wildly different than residential because it's hotel room-esque, and we have to think of it as such. Although it's just a lot more varied and unique than a hotel room, where those are a lot more standard, where a vacation rental could be so many different things. Very unique. I mean, I've seen some crazy ones on, we clean a couple domes, like they're literal, like domes out in the woods. It's very cool. But they're unique, and they sell very well because of that uniqueness. So it's not the same as houses. So, it sounds like, you got some really good folks right away in the beginning. And did things just keep taking off from there? And what were some of the hiccups that you were experiencing, from a growing pains perspective?
I don't know. I think I was always prepared for an influx. That I was mentally preparing for it. I think I was probably asking for it too.
Yep.
So, because my mentor, he would be like, well, what happens if like you get 50 units tomorrow? I was like, I'll figure it out. That's for sure. So what happened was also when all this is starting to grow, and I have my 13 units in Dallas. Yeah, I did have 13 units in Dallas, and I had like, basically, I don't know, probably like 60 cleans. So I have like 30 cleans in Houston a month and maybe 60 in Dallas a month, something like very still small. And so what happened was my husband wanted to go back to Denver. We were still dating. And I was like, okay, well, I'm only doing 30 cleans a month. I have 2 ladies who clean. I hired them. And that was another thing I want to say is like, when you hire them, I like to keep them. So I just give them a lot of work, just keep them busy, so they don't go anywhere else. Because not only do they get better at the job, they're doing it all the time. They get better at the job, and then I pay them enough to stay with me. So that's my little formula for not having high turnover too, because I don't have high turnover.
Were you paying to just put a little pin in that? Were you paying them percentage? Do you pay flat rate? Do you pay hourly? How do you handle that?
I pay per unit rate.
Per unit. That's what I was wondering, because I think that's probably very common with rental cleaning companies. Is that makes a lot of sense, So basically, do you do that by size? Like this unit is this rate, this unit, like, is it?
Yes.
You have a very set, like, right. This is how it is. Okay.
Correct. And I give them the freedom to know in the beginning, because a lot of times, sometimes they're afraid to speak up. You know how us women are sometimes. To say like, oh, that took too long. So in the beginning, I tell them, listen, if you find a party house and there's a bunch of trash bags and stuff like that, take pictures, because we're not going to ask the client after to pay more, because they like to get upset about that. When you're in the middle of it, before anything happens, take pictures and say, this is going to be a lot longer than I thought. Send me the pictures. I'll send it to the client. If they agree, we'll keep going. If they don't agree, you pack your stuff and go. So that's how we do it. It's like, okay, so we're communicative. I think that's another thing that I think makes us successful. Is like, we're always talking to everybody. We're talking to our team. We're talking to our clients. We're always pinging back and forth. So as long as like there's a good communication, I think makes everything go very well.
Oh gosh, and it's truly the tenet of successful business ownership. I mean, heck, we have our team meetings on Monday. Just this morning, it's like, guys, let us know if you are going to be running more than 15 minutes over the allotted time, because we need to be able to like charge for that. And if we don't communicate that, we can't charge for what, so it's just like it's amazing. Like, you think it would be simple, but it's such a lot of people are not good at communicating or not understanding the importance of it and the domino effect of poor communication. Yeah. So it's something we're just having to drill into their heads like 100 times a week.
Yeah, exactly. But in our case, we're like, you get paid more. See, you want to complain about all the work, we can get paid more. So if you want to get paid more, report it, please.
Yep, they're incentivized to do so. So you really, you had a good team. So you guys moved back to Denver then, am I assuming?
Well, no. So we moved. So we got I had never been to Denver. I'm not a cold person.
Yeah,
I never want to live in someplace cold. So we did like an 8-month lease, and so it was going to end in like November or something like that. So what happened was my husband went back and he started working in his
field,
the cable field, yeah. And I was thinking, okay, well, Denver is more touristy, right? There's more people going there in and out. So let me start a HostKeeper there. Maybe I'll do better than Houston. That's not what happened. What happened was I was there for like a week and I got a call from a company that had called me a month before saying like, we have like 12 units. Can you clean, or 13 units? Can you clean them? And I'm like, yeah. And asked me how big my team was, and I didn't have a team at all. I had like 2 people. So, but I embellish because I know what I can do.
You gotta do what you gotta do in the beginning to make yourself seem big. That really is. It's like puff that chest out, like just.
Right. But only if you can back it up. Only if you think you can back it up.
And I think, just what you've said multiple times, it's funny because I have an episode that hasn't gone live yet, but it's with my customer relations manager, Katie. And I said to her, I was like, I think one of my traits of like success is I deeply believe in my ability to figure shit out. Yep. Like, I know I can figure it out. I know that I may not know how, but it's going to happen. And you keep saying that about yourself too, of like, I'll figure it out. And that's, you just have to have this belief in yourself. And that's built over like the reps of you figure something out, something new comes at you and you figure it out. And like, it just makes you really confident in yourself,
Absolutely. I think that's the invisible part of it that you don't see and people don't see, is the part that you have to believe in yourself to get at some point. Like that billionaire didn't get there just like rolling over in the bed. Like they believed in themselves some way, somehow to get to that point. So you better start believing in yourself, or nothing's going to start moving, obviously, So
absolutely.
Yeah. So we were in Denver for a while. So I started 1 week there. I get a call. They're like, well, we have 13 units. And I'm like, yeah, I'll be there. But they really had 60. They had 8 actually. But
were they just bad at counting or what? Were they bad at counting?
No. Well, that's something that you have to learn in the industry too, is because in this industry, at the time, I don't know about now, it was so hard to find a vacation rental cleaner that they would have to hire more than one cleaner.
Okay. Sure.
Because residential, also the times are different. When you go to clean, you can start at 8 a.m. In vacation rental, you're usually starting at 11. So it's also, you mostly have to separate it somehow. It's hard to juggle the two. So because I only did that, and so I realized like, okay, they prefer to have one cleaner, even though they hire multiple cleaners. And because you deal with one owner, right? If that cleaner did bad, then you have to call that owner. If that cleaner did bad, then you have to, that room wasn't clean, you got to call that owner. They prefer everybody and pay one person too. Pay one company, deal with one person. So I was like, oh, I can take advantage of this, like, okay, let me prove that I am your only one. And so I did that without knowing. So they were like, listen, we had another company, but we like how you do things. They're out. So they moved me in. So I got all 68.
Wow.
Can you imagine? They gave me like 40 and then 48 at the time. Like, so in pieces. So that's how it happened. Like first they said 4, first they said 13. I was like, okay, I get back to Houston. They say 40. I'm like, wow. Because that day the other company had really messed up. And so they were like, we're done with them. So then they're like 40. And so I hired enough people, like the hiring game, I hired enough people. And then the next month I went back to Denver. And I was like, man, my boyfriend's going to break up with me because I don't got time for him. I'm like busy, but also I've been dreaming about this.
Yes.
You know, being an independent businesswoman. So I was like, sorry, sir, bye. I'm busy. So I came back to Denver. And then can you imagine by the time I came back the next month, the same week, they called me like, I heard you're in Austin. I was like, man, I'm not in Austin, but I can be there. And I was like, you guys let me do it. Let me do it again. They said, I guess they must have had a hard time. So I found a family in Austin. Amazing. Till this day, she's calling me, do you have something? So amazing family in Austin. Like my hire, she did mostly the weekdays, but on the weekends, Austin is really busy. So she bring her whole family, and they would do that the whole weekend. So it was
the whole family would clean for you, like
on the weekends. Yeah, the mother is the one I hired, and her husband and their 2 kids. They were older. They were college age, so they all came, and so that was amazing because we had one building. Actually, we had 2 buildings, so they were all in 2 different buildings. So it made it easy too for them to do the work.
These like apartment complexes, or like what were these buildings?
Apartment complexes, yeah. So
okay.
The clients that we were dealing with at the time were a lot of startups. So basically, let's say you, Stephanie, like, you know what? I have a rental. It's basically rental arbitrage. You have an existing apartment building. You go to them and say, hey, I have this business that, I rent out to other people, and you make this much money. Don't worry. Whatever happens in the contract, we're going to make sure you get this and maybe a little bit more, every month. And so these people were getting like 2 floors in an apartment complex, or 20 units in an apartment complex. And so that's how they would operate. And then they would hire us to do everything else on the ground, basically.
Wow. So what year was it that you got this giant opportunity, basically, with these huge chunks of rentals?
Do you remember what year? It was the second year.
Yep.
Yeah.
So that would have been
2017.
2000. Gosh. And that, like, I love that you're because I know for a lot of people, it does start out very, very slow, and it doesn't feel like you have no idea when something like this is going to get dropped into your lap, because we've had that happen too with like, I've said on the podcast many times, like we had, when all of the Afghan refugees came over to America a few years ago, our military base got 15,000 of them, and we got the call to clean the barracks for 6 months, that they like every single day.
Arizona? Was it Arizona?
No, my business is in Wisconsin. I'm in Georgia, but my business is in Wisconsin.
Okay.
So, but they were all over. They were all over the country. That basically any military base that could withstand taking in refugees in this level, they put them all over. And so we got and so like literally from one day to like 30 days later, it's like, holy shit! Like this is crazy.
That's
you know
amazing.
what I mean? And that's exactly what happened to you. Of like,
right?
Oh my gosh. Yes, I will figure it out. And that's exactly what you did. It sounds like you figured it out.
Yes. Oh, and they kept trying to give me, they wanted to give me like 90. Well, how many? Okay, let me be real. How many did they? I think another 30 in Dallas. And I was like, okay, this is going too far. Like it was now putting a strain on my relationship and all this stuff. Then I was like, okay, I got to slow down. So I wanted to take everything, but we're moving and it's going well. So like, don't overflow. So what happened at the time was, now I'm getting Austin, and so my husband's watching. He's going to have to get up at 6 o'clock in the morning and do cable. He's like, I'm going to work with you. I'm working with you. And I'm like, no, you're not. But my husband's very stubborn, extremely stubborn guy, which I do appreciate because my daughter's the same. And so they don't take no for an answer, which I appreciate. And so I'm like, well, I was so annoyed about it too, because, I'm like, I worked so hard. I was so alone in this. Nobody really.
Yours, I'm sure that there was that that loss of independence potentially of like, I built this and like the genuine strain that it can put on relationships to work with your spouse. I mean, 100%. You'll butt heads potentially. So how did you guys navigate? Is it you guys both just have very clear responsibilities, and like that, is that how you navigate the business together?
Well, now that's how it is. Yes.
Yep.
Now, there's evolution. Yeah. Right. Yeah. Now that's how it is. Now it's like he's over everything because we butt heads. like, I don't know, like 3 years ago. And I was like, you know what? I'm out. I need a break anyways. I'm like, you know what? You think you got it? Go on, go ahead and do it then. That's how I am. And he learned his lesson. I'll just put it that way. But it was nice to sit back and watch because, but at the same time, with much respect to my husband, because he's been able to keep up the business, he's not a businessman. So he doesn't look for more business. He just manages what we get through the internet. So basically, for your question before is like, how do we do it? Before we get inquiries from our website, but also I was hunting people down.
Mm-hmm.
I love the hunt. It's like a game. But so I would like search the internet. Even now, you can search the internet, be creative and clever to find vacation rental cleaning businesses, property management companies. And so I would search them and I would put like their business name, their phone number, their email, and just introducing myself because they were my target audience. Why? I don't even pay for ads, by the way. I've tried every now and then, sprinkle here and there, but I don't, for where we are, keeping it in the like, 6-figure range. Mm-hmm. We don't do any advertising. Now, if I want to hit the millions, I probably should do some advertising and be ready to buck up and all that stuff. But for the time being able to hunt people down and just letting them know that you exist. Because not everybody's going to know that you exist. So just saying, hey, we only focus on vacation rental cleaning, short-term rental cleaning, Airbnb cleaning, whatever term you want to use it. And this is what we do. And this is how we can help you. And so in that short little message, they're like, most of the time they're always looking for somebody new anyway, half the time. So you might catch them at that time. And I was always banking on that. So that's what I would do a lot. Once we got the cleaning and everything operating and I no longer have to clean, now I'm focused on getting clients.
Onboarding people and getting them into your system. And so one of the biggest issues, you had already touched on this, and I'd love to hone in on this in detail a little bit, is one of the biggest struggles that residential cleaning companies have going into vacation rentals is the time of the turnover, and that it truly does not work to have your residential cleaner who's got a cleaning in the morning. How do you fit that in the middle of the day? And that's like, for us, like for us, Airbnbs and vacation rentals exploded after COVID. Like, we're in really rural Wisconsin, my business. And so, nobody wanted to stay in a hotel. So all of a sudden we're like saying yes to all of this, but we're residential commercial. And so we ended up, after a couple of years of this, we're like, you know what, like, we're going to drop down and, up the prices and cut our clients in half. Cause in our area, these owners were not ready. Like, these were their vacation homes that they wanted to rent out while they were not there. And so a lot of them were just not prepared to actually do what needed to be done to become a proper vacation rental. But what I mean by that is laundry on site, garbage on site. Like, we're hauling laundry, we're hauling garbage. They just weren't ready. Like, they were not structurally ready to actually be a vacation rental, if you will. And so, but that all aside, when it comes to scheduling, and, I'm sure you have a lot of same day turnovers. Do you just have a shit ton of people, or how do you handle being able to flip, like, the scheduling of it all? Can you tell me a little bit what that looks like? Is it first come, first serve? Because that's what we've had to do with our owners, of like, once that slot's gone and we've got, all of the cleaners that were available, like, how do you manage the schedule with short-term rentals when all of the turnovers are like, not all of them, some of them, you have a day or whatever, but that's a challenging part. Can you describe that?
Yeah, it wasn't so challenging after you put a price to it. Okay. So all our clients at one point, you could book all the cleans ahead of time. I always told them this trick. Once somebody books your place at the day that they're checking out, book your clean. Don't wait for the last minute, because you call me last minute, I'm also charging you. Now I have to scramble and redo the schedule. I don't have to do that, but I will if you pay me extra. Maybe I'll make some time, because really we're busy. So, and then next time you'll learn to do it ahead of time, so that you're inconveniencing me at this point. And it's hard for people to digest, but it's hard to find good cleaners sometimes. So, so what it is when they fill out this form to say, how many bedrooms, how many bathrooms, what day the clean is going to be done. We have a button that says, is this a same day clean? And you have to mark yes or no, because if it's yes, then we're going to make sure you have to pay for extra. It's like $10, $15.
Okay.
And depending on how many bedrooms. So we had like, okay, if it's a 1 bedroom, $10. If it's 2 bedroom, $25. Just change the number in the front. 3 bedroom, $35. 4 bedroom, $45 to designate a same day clean. Because so that makes also the clients, the host think, because a lot of times they think that you're just a machine and that somebody checks out 11, somebody's coming in at 3, and you have a 6 bedroom house and you think it's just going to get done. Like, no. So it makes them think like, okay, well, I won't book same days for this particular house because it's going to cost me too much, you know? Or so basically that's how it goes. Basically, if you have you want it done first come first serve, you have to let us know. And so that's how we schedule. It's easy because it's like, okay, well, we have these 5 houses that need to be done before 3 o'clock. Bam, 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 bam. These are the 5 people who are going to go there. And then the cleans after they clean those. Then we schedule them and trickle down those cleans. So that's how we do it. It's pretty easy. You know, if you want attention, go for it.
Do most of your cleaner, like what's a typical shift, or is it truly, very variable depending on what their availability is like? Do most of your folks start around 11? Because I'm like, I know for us, like there is some vacation rentals we can get in right away because it's not a same day turnover. So it still is. It's, that meme with the ladies and the numbers like behind you, like that's what it feels like looking at, like, cause you're trying to do scheduling as intelligent as possible. Right. And so it's challenging, especially with what your situation is of like having like so many in like the same place. Like you don't want to be sending, like you want to be as intelligent as possible with scheduling.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, we've had one day that it was like 50 cleans in one day and 25 were same day. Everybody was on deck. My husband was out there. I was out there. Our baby was out there, which at the time
baby's clean.
Everybody's out. Yeah. So we would it did help that we had a lot of units in one building because we could go to all of them and start the wash.
Yep.
Then all of them and then put them in the dryer. Then you got the towels and the ladies just focus on, cleaning all the surfaces and all the floors and everything in between. And we'll make the beds. So we made like some kind of quick rotation that day. But so with our timing, that's what I mean. It's like, that's why my cleaners have to be exclusive to me, because if they're doing residential, all that, the technicality of it all makes it difficult. So because we only do vacation rental, the timing is awesome. It's perfect.
Yeah. And the reason I highlight that is like, it can work so beautifully if that's what you focus on. And it's like, so that's why it's hard when some of the owners who they want to do residential, commercial, and vacation rental. And it's like, logistically, that's very challenging. I'm not saying it can't be done. Right. We do it, but we specialize residential, commercial, right? Vacation rental is only like if it makes sense. And honestly, we don't take any more on because it's like in our area, the volume isn't enough because in your area, highly populated, people want to go vacation and stay. I'm sure, like, do you have a slow season? I'm curious. Is there a slow season for you?
Yeah. Yeah. We definitely.
Is it winter, January, February, or?
No, because we have holidays. Yeah. People are still traveling. January was actually good. February is a little bit down, but the season starts mainly in April. It starts trickling up in March. And then it kind of slows down again when the kids come out of school. So around now, May, it's going to start to go down a little bit. May, June, July. June and July are usually dead times unless our hosts, they used to get like traveling nurses or students that would stay the whole weekend. So if you get lucky with that in the Texas area, but mostly those are the slow time. Then they start picking up again around October, November, because then you have in November Thanksgiving, October, like a lot of conferences, and December, and then it goes back down a little bit.
Okay, so it's variable, and it's just a good point to be had of like, again, vacation rentals, it can be amazing, but there is typically a flow to it. But really in cleaning businesses, there's almost always a bit of there's some downtime. It just depends where you are for sure. So, so I'm curious, like now, like current day, what does your business look like? From like how many do you have on a team? What's a typical appointment number, like either per month or however you guys calculate that? What's normal for you guys now?
Well, I used to do the schedule, and then when when I didn't manually do the schedule, I used a software that every time you logged on at the top of the month, it would tell you how many cleans you had that month. So it would be easy.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
It'd be easy to be like, okay, we've had like 1,000 cleans this month or something like that. But now I'm not on top. I'm not looking at it every day. I'm not on, and I should be, because now I want to grow this business. So that's the other thing. It's like I went off to do other things, so now I'm back here. It's tightening everything. So as far as our team in each city, so in Houston, we have a small team of like 8. We have a small team of like 4 in Dallas, and another small team. Actually, in Austin, we actually contract somebody to get our cleans, because people see HostKeeper, the name, they're like, "Hey, do you clean in Austin?" And we just contact our partner over there. But we do it ourselves in Dallas and in Houston. So yeah,
Okay.
and we've always had a pretty much small team. Like even in our busiest times, where we were doing like 99 in Dallas, I only had like 8 people there, 8 to 12 people. And I say 8 to 12 because we might have like 8 main people, but I love when they're like, "Well, can my sister help me sometimes, or can my adult daughter help me sometimes, or can my mom come help me?" I'm like, yeah. As long as I just have to pay one person and you can pay them, that's fine with me. So that's why I say 8 to 12, because if they want to bring help, I don't mind if they bring help. It's faster for them.
Yeah, especially if you're paying a per like unit price. I mean, that works a lot more easily for sure. So yeah, it sounds like, I mean, overall, like you've gone through several like evolutions of the business, bringing your husband in, things like that. If you were to, kind of assess and analyze yourself as an owner and a leader, what kind of traits would you say you've developed over time, or what kind of things have you had to lay to rest in yourself in order to push through and be successful? If anything stands out of like, I really had to change this part of myself in order to make this happen. Does anything stand out to you?
I think something does. I would say that it's actually a personality trait that I could exercise, that I am still a little bit weary about, because growing up, I mean, it did kind of influence me. My dad was in the military, and I'm around people who are disciplined every day, waking up, going to do their exercises, and shining their boots. And so you see and you wake up to discipline all the time.
What did you have to lose? Like, what did you have to leave behind? Yeah.
So in my personality, I kind of like don't I think what has helped, and what also doesn't help as my personality, is I don't take any bullshit, basically, from people. So if I already I guess I can say I'm really good intuitively, so it helps the hiring process. That's why, basically, if you have a good, strong team, then you're good to go.
It's so true.
So focus on that, so that's how I feel. Like, so when people want to be a little bit funny, or slack a little bit, I am a human and they're a human, and I recognize that and I respect it, but sometimes there's some things you just cannot let go, even though if it's small, you know? And it's almost kind of like a military style. Like, I'm not giving any chances for certain things. And I think not giving chances makes me a tighter ship. And even though I think everybody loves our company, but that's the part that matters. It's not about, I don't run a tight ship like I'm behind your back and I'm micromanaging you. I don't do it like that. I do it I respect you enough to give you the space to do what you're supposed to do. And if you show me that you can't do it, I'm not going to give you're done. You're toast. And I think a problem with other people is they give people chances and they're like, oh, well, this excuse, well, this is my daughter, or this is my son, or they have this going on. I don't care. I mean, I do care, but you're also affecting my business. So I feel like you got to be a little bit cutthroat. And I think that's the part of me that is scared to use, because you're, as a woman, I'm supposed to be like demure and polite and politically correct, but that doesn't make me any money, you know? So I got to be straight, and everybody's real. So that's what I like about my team too. We're real people.
Oh, I love that. And, especially with vacation rentals, like it's showtime. You got one shot, one opportunity,
Yes.
you either nail it or you don't. And the stakes are higher because you are affecting somebody else's business. You screw up at somebody's house, they'll give you another chance.
Yes.
And you're also never affected, like you're not affecting their like livelihood.
That's
Whereas,
right.
if you affect their rating, that's a really big deal. And I also love that, you hinted at, and just the concept of excellence and holding people to a really high standard is a wonderful thing for them. And though it may not feel good in the moment, or it may feel like you're being a hard ass, honestly, every time we say, I believe in you so much that I'm not going to let you get away with shoddy work because I know what you're capable of. And honestly, like that's what people need. They need you to believe in them in a way of like, I know you can do great work. And if you're choosing not to, you got to get off the boat. Like it's just not going to work. And so I'm sure that has absolutely contributed to your success because when other people come on, people talk. It's like, hey, you can't pull the wool over her. You can't BS her basically.
Yeah. And like you said, in the same breath, empowering them. Because it actually does. After you said that, I'm like, yeah, it actually does. Holding them accountable. I don't do it now, but I used to hold like monthly get-togethers. You don't have to show up because you're 1099. I made it clear, like you don't have to show up. You're 1099. But we're gonna have donuts and we're gonna have coffee. And if you want to know what's going on in the company, show up if you feel like it. And everybody always shows up. Everybody wants their voice to be heard. That's why I don't really like when people are like, oh, W2, you can't have a meeting. These people want their voice to be heard. They want to tell you, I don't think this is fair. And you have to be there to listen because they're the ones who is creating your business for you. So if they're happy, you're happy. So, yeah.
Yeah.
And
absolutely.
they have to have a level of respect for themselves too.
Mm-hmm.
And I help that too, because sometimes in this business, people try to disrespect you on a daily basis. Try to make you feel small. So
it's the plight of the cleaner. And that's I see our roles, especially as women leaders in the industry too. Like we need to change how people view this industry or if they're not going to change the way they see it, not reward bad behavior, not reward disrespect by not calling it out or by not canceling services.
Conversation about this because this is going on today with with a client being upset with a cleaner for something very minimal because, of, I guess, the status. So, but
and how do you handle that? Do you like, I know every situation is different, like, but can you kind of explain your thought process in handling like how, like, getting everybody's voices heard, but then at the end of the day, like you got to make the call, right? Like you got to respect your people.
Right. I hope I handle it differently now because I did even a whole YouTube on this because there was one time. So this is kind of a similar situation going on today, but in that situation a couple of years ago, I allow my cleaners to bring their small children to work with them. I don't have a problem with it. This is how I decide to build my business. In that if you feel like your kid can't go to school today and you are comfortable taking them, as long as they're not, running amok, or most of the time they're sitting on the sofa looking at a doggone screen, most they're very well behaved and not doing anything. So, if, and we're moms, like we're doing everything at the same time. I have to honor that. It's not like I don't want to be how it is at corporate. I didn't like it. And it's not understanding, and it's not even almost humane to be like, it's like this, and we're going to pretend like you don't even have kids. This is crazy. So if you need to bring your kids sometimes, you can bring your kids sometimes. And apparently the building manager, she didn't have nothing to do with our business, but she came to my cleaner and said, I'm going to call CPS if you don't get this kid. Child protected, sir. Yes.
Oh my gosh.
And guess what? We even got fired because I called to speak to her. And I didn't even get to speak to her. I spoke to her secretary. And I said, here's my phone number. If she has a problem, she needs to call me. And I think what she did was threw her stones and hit her hands. Because what she did immediately was call my client and said they need to be out of the building. I want them out. Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
By proxy.
Wow.
Yeah. We got fired that way. And can you imagine, how disgusting. And this still is going on today. Same situation. It's actually not even the client this time. It's actually the guest.
Oh really?
Stay clean. So she was supposed, and she didn't want it to be clean unless she was there. So, and the thing about it is, nobody knows. It's not public knowledge, but we've never been accused of, stealing anybody's anything. Look it up. You know what I'm saying? And there are people who think certain things about people, and therefore they don't like that their kid is with them and making up stuff. And it's very complicated and annoying, but this is colonialism. This is what it is. This is the structure that we work in. So a lot of times it's like, you don't like the way that we do things, you're fired. And I was okay with it. And I'm still okay with it. But my husband thinks different, because he's like, well, this is money. We should deal with it different. So before, I was a little bit more warrior-like about it. And there's different ways to handle things instead of like, F you and your money and everything. I don't have to do it like that. You know what I'm saying? I could do it differently. So those past experiences, I think this time I would be a lot more calm about it and not angry about it, because it's a situation is very angry because, why did that lady have to interject herself for what and threaten somebody and their child? If somebody threatened me and my child and said, I'm calling the CPS on you, that's a threat. Not me calling you saying, if you have a problem, you need to deal with me. So it's still a tricky situation that we're dealing here.
I'm happy that you had one. That's a terrible situation, and I'm sorry that you've had to deal with that. But it highlights like sometimes some of the shit that we have to go through as owner. Like you literally could not prepare for it. Like even this past year, I'm like, that was not on my bingo cards that would happen. That would be getting sued for this or whatever is happening. It's like, oh my gosh. But that's business ownership. Is like we get to deal with the problems that other people would not want to, because that's what we're signing up for. And it sounds like you're still learning and evolving. And so what for you? What do you see the next year holding? And what do you said you had YouTube, so tell us about what your YouTube channel is, where we can find you if we want to follow along.
Oh, thank you. So for this year, I plan on growing the cleaning business. It's our bread and butter. It does well. It gives me the opportunity to travel and make YouTube videos, So it's a blessing. And even all the stuff that goes with it, all the interactions with people that you have, it's still a blessing. It's our experience, and it's still awesome. So this year I'm getting back in. So basically what I'm going to do is just be the sales girl, is play around. Because I do like playing around with sales and seeing like how I can better my sales skills, So that's how I see it. I don't see it like, oh my God, I got to talk to people. I used to see it like that. So now I'm like, you know what? Just play the game and you might get a new client. So that's how I'm going to be playing it now. And then with my YouTube, I have a new YouTube called Mila Millions. And it's Mila Millions because I want to influence millions of people to believe in themselves. So it's a YouTube about personal development and business. Kind of like, have you read, of course you read Think and Grow Rich. I don't know. Have you heard of John Assaraf, the author John Assaraf?
Yes. Yep.
Yeah. He has the book, The Answer. I love that book because he combines business along with, I guess, law of attraction, because that's what really has been working for me. Like when I said, I put now coming to Dallas soon, that was like manifesting some business in Dallas, and that's what happened. So it's those kind of beliefs in yourself that we need to have more conversations about. And so that's what that's about.
Oh, I love it. We'll definitely link it down in the show notes so everybody can go hit that subscribe on Mila's channel, because this has been so lovely to get to know you and your journey. It really has been an amazing journey. And I've just been like dazzled and distracted by your beautiful teeth and smile this whole I'm like, I need to get the teeth whitening. Like, nobody look at my mouth right now because your teeth are so beautiful.
These are veneers. I got them done in Colombia for a fraction of the price, and they're beautiful. And
they are.
Thank you. She makes them look so natural. It's all women-owned, sisters, orthodontists. They're more on aesthetics, so that's why they're great. In Colombia, their studio or their practice is beautiful. You get coffee, you get mimosa. They're amazing. And they did an amazing job with my teeth. I should plug them in.
Yeah, no, I know. I'm just like, holy crap, those teeth. And like, the thing is about veneers, like they can look really bad. Like I didn't even clock that. Like I'm really good at clocking work. And so like, that's amazing.
I told you. Well, my teeth were usually my teeth were white in the before, but it's just, I was trying to change the alignment of my teeth, and it was just easier to do veneers instead of braces. But, yeah, thank you.
Well, there we go. If you want to see more of Mila's dazzling smile, we'll be linking her YouTube channel down below. And I so appreciate you taking the time, sharing your journey. And definitely I'm so happy to have had you on as a guest.
Thank you. And thank you for having me. And it was great to meet you. I love you. I love your energy, by the way. I wanted to tell you that. Like, your understanding and your conversation, it just flowed and it went so easily. And your other podcast with your guests, it does the same thing. So it says a lot about you. So thank you.
Thank you. I love to talk with people, and especially in our industry, because it's a very special one indeed. And we all have a very strong heart for service and a desire to make that coin. So it's a beautiful thing.
I love that. It's so true. You gotta make that into a quote or something. I love it.
Oh, awesome. Well, thank you, Mila, and everybody. Thank you for watching. Hit that like, hit that subscribe, and hit that comment section, and give Mila some love. And we'll see you on the next episode of Filthy Rich Cleaners, guys. Bye-bye.